All right, so now officially, I'd like to greet everyone. It's very nice to see very many friendly faces here. So my name is Rafael Marques de Albuquerque from Brazil, and I was asked to make some opening comments for the session. We are now celebrating a transition from a period of 23 years in which the Theosophical Society had not an articulated international youth movement, to this new period that begins today. It is a moment of a new beginning, and it's full of hope. This is a culmination of a series of events. In September 2020, when many of us had to get used to online gatherings due to the COVID-19 pandemic, I invited 7 young theosophists to share their thoughts in a panel on the future of theosophy. It was the first of a series of monthly online panels and talks of young theosophists from all around the world about a wide variety of subjects. Soon after the first gathering, Erica Ioriades asked me to organize a meeting with some young leaders. She then suggested us to make an effort to revive the World Federation of Young Theosophists. I cannot say I was surprised. Looking back, I believe it was always about that, even though I was in denial when Erica helped me to understand what was about to happen. Since that meeting, and I and many others engaged in making the World Federation of Young Theosophists a reality, I was really worried about legitimacy. How can we revive a historical organization in a way that's correct and rightful? Who is legitimate to claim to speak on behalf of the World Federation of Young Theosophists in the year of 2022? My answer was to focus on 2 pillars. The first is autonomy. The youth should be the ones to lead this revival. And the second pillar was collectiveness. The legitimacy to me was directly related to a democratic process in which all young theosophists should have voice and could take part if they wish. We tried to be as inclusive as we could, and in this lies the beauty of this moment. This is neither my federation nor the federation of the newly 7 elected officers. I believe the collective process culminates in an organization that belongs to all young theosophists who wishes to engage. In this process, in the last 2 years, I sort of played an unofficial leading role. Now, to my joy, we have 7 official leaders. We should not underestimate the power of someone who was officially appointed to something. There is much work to be done. And even though we often have some energy, there are doubts on whether we should be the ones to do it, or whether now should be the moment. Doubt and uncertainty paralyze us. By electing these new 7 officers, we are collectively agreeing they will be the ones to lead us, and that now is the moment to act. You have a mandate of 2 years of service. It may sound mean to place such responsibility on someone's shoulder, but this appointment should empower you all with the power of intention. Few sources of power are stronger than human will when it's well directed. Obviously, I hope the Federation remains coherent with its constitution and with its process of revival, and therefore the responsibility should be quite shared and collective, and not concentrated in the shoulders of a few. With the creation of this federation, I hope every young theosophist feel they are being summoned to work with us for the benefit of all beings. And there's much work to be done. The federation is expected to promote a sense of community amongst the theosophical youth and to prepare it for a wider service for the world. But as young theosophists, we also share challenges of more mature theosophists. For instance, to update the ancient teachings to the current world and to keep the divine wisdom fresh and alive. Blavatsky was brave to defend the idea of universal brotherhood in the 19th century. Perhaps we, in a naive sense, believed for a while that this idea was widely and well accepted throughout the century after her passing, and that her message had lost some relevance, like everyone accepts some sort of universal brotherhood. Today, we see a world with threats of nuclear war, increase of militaristic ideologies, and where extreme right-winged fascist movements are rising. Some of their favorite targets are the gays, the lesbians, the transgender people, and the immigrants. Inequality and poverty are increasing. It sounds like our most central concept of universal brotherhood is still much relevant, even though the elements changed in the surface. And perhaps we need more courage than we imagined to do the brave declarations of principles and valiant defenses of those who are unjustly attacked, in Blavatsky's words. I wish our generation makes wise choices about the roles that can be played by the Theosophical movement in the 21st century. This federation can have a small scope or a medium scope, but there is also a big scope in the horizon. Before I pass the word for the new elected officers, I believe some gratitude should be expressed. I'll take the risk of forgetting someone, and I beg for your understanding if I do. But we should thank the International President Tim Boyd and General Secretary Maria Artama for their support, as well as the General Council and the General Secretaries of a great number of countries who patiently helped us validating the membership of the Young Theosophists. I'd like to thank especially Krista Unbarge for sharing with me the work and responsibility of being the election committee. Her wisdom and attentive mind was crucial to allow us to have such a smooth election. And finally, I'd like to share my gratitude to all young Theosophists who participated, especially the ones who are here now. Everyone who talked in our panels and who watched them. Everyone who translated our messages to other languages. The groups who proposed constitution models, and the small group who volunteered to write our current version. The 26 amazing young Theosophists who ran in the election, and every young person who took their time to make their choice and vote. I hope this beginning point of this new federation, that's not so new, becomes fruitful to all of us and to all beyond us. And now we get to the officers. This group of seven precious and beloved people. I will not wish you good luck in this new role, because I'm confident that you are already blessed by beings much higher than myself. I do not feel I have a torch to pass, but I hope you can feel like I do. At this moment, I will introduce briefly the 7 elected officers of the new World Federation of Young Theosophists in alphabetic order. We have Brandon Goff from Singapore. We have Catalina Isasa Cantor from Colombia. We have Christopher C. from the Philippines. We have Elena Bessib Camplone from Italy. We have Merike Martsap from Estonia, but associated to the Theosophical Society in Finland. And we have Sara Ortega van Vloten from Spain. And finally, Seth Edwards from the United States of America. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Raphael. And first, the whole board wanted to make a point to thank you for everything that you've done over the past 2 years. I firmly believe that the WFYT right now wouldn't exist had you not stepped up and essentially did all the work that you did. So thank you for that. And thank you to the election committee too, both you and Krista, for all the work that you did to manually check all of those votes. That was a lot of work. And you both did it extremely fast. And after that, the next thing that we had for this meeting was each of the board members was going to answer in 2 or 3 minutes 2 different questions. And they were, why did you apply to the WFYT? And the next one was, what are your expectations for the next 2 years? So any of the 7 of us that want to answer those 2 questions first can go ahead and start. Maybe we could go alphabetically or in reverse alphabetical order. Okay, I'll go first. So I wanted to apply to the WFYT or the youth movement because it's honestly the first place that I felt like I belong. And I know that's really cheesy and corny to say, but I mean it. And I don't think there's anywhere else I'd rather be. My expectations for the next 2 years, what I'm most excited about are, I'm hoping we can start weekly discussion and study groups where we just, talk about what it is to be on a spiritual path together and just share that basic human experience and get to know each other. I think that right now in the world, because of the way that technology is changing culture so quickly, and all of recorded history right here and now is when there's the biggest generation gap between our parents and us. So I think for us to have this separate space for the youth to interact with each other is more important now than it's ever been. And I hope that we can take that and run with it. And I think next was Sarah.
Yeah, okay. So the first question, I didn't really plan to be or postulate like a candidate, but for the past few years, I naturally got more involved in the movement to reactivate the Youth Federation. I also worked to write the new constitution, and then when I was asked to be a candidate, I thought about it, and because I knew that there are many possible candidates who are really worthy of it. And then later I was reassured when I read all the bios of the candidates, which I think, I felt the beautiful and precious aspiration of all young Theosophists who want to take part of the Federation. And eventually I decided to volunteer as a candidate and then let destiny unfold and wait for results. So, and here I am. Regarding the expectations for this new term, I hope that we can build a solid foundation since it's the beginning of this new period. And I know that the group of 7 that we are will do the best that we can to build a platform where all international Theosophists can feel drawn to, and they are eager to meet, to discuss, and to work together, with Theosophy being the link that connects us and the center of our efforts. I don't know who is next.
Yeah, I should be the next. Thank you, Sarah. And in June, we had a very special event, which was the international gathering of young Theosophists in Narden. And I experienced a very special moment, very magical, it was a very magical experience. And there was a beautiful energy, and we created a cohesive group, and we lived these 4 days in harmony, and I felt like I found many friends, I found a family, and so I decided that I wanted to improve these relationships. And then I participated to a couple of other events in Europe in presence. So I had the opportunity to cultivate our friendship, and so I felt that I wanted to be part of this. I really want to be part of this, and I decided to making myself available as much as I can for the Federation, and so I hope that we can many young members into Theosophical Society to embrace the spiritual path, because I think that in the modern times we need it, and it's something very important, because the trust in religion has been lost, and I think that the spiritual path is very useful now, and the Theosophical Society is an excellent means that helps us in this.
So I will be next. Thank you. And well, first of all, Theosophy has been my inspiration, and I really wanted to do something for others that they would have at least same kind of or even better experiences with it. And for some time already, I have had some ideas that I would like to try out. And now working together in this harmonious altruistic group of young people where we share the task, a lot of things seems possible. I am so very grateful for this opportunity to work closely with you all and many other wonderful people for these common goals. And well, what is my expectations? Well, first of all, to create something that has meaning and that evolves further, and also to keep alive what previous board have started over this some years of pause, and all that to offer opportunities for people to evolve their worldview of theosophical worldview, and to create materials and courses for that purpose. And in my opinion, we also could have more books that introduce theosophical ideas to children, and which they can read together with their family. And I am currently working with one of those. And since you asked what is my expectations, maybe also to create some groups for young people where they could try implement some charity projects in their neighborhood, and so on. But I hope that all the good ideas that we have will come true. So thank you very much.
Um, am I next? So anyway, I started working with the youth group when I started my journey as a student of Theosophy. There were actually very few people, very few young people in the group. And actually, when it all began, there was a misnomer that Theosophy was something impractical, it was something abstract, it was cosmological, it was very metaphysical, and it was not something that an ordinary person could understand. As I delved deeply into my study of Theosophy, I found that to be not true, because I found that Theosophy actually has direct implications to our life, and it can help us live better lives as individuals. And eventually, when I started studying, eventually I also started to give talks, and eventually younger people began to be attracted because they saw that there are also young people who are giving talks within the Theosophical Society. So it grew from there. And then when I heard 2 years ago that young Theosophists were gathering together to work together to form the Theosophical youth groups all over the world, I thought that this was an opportunity to bring the message of Theosophy out to a greater number of people, and that's why I initially joined the this movement for the young Theosophists. Um, like Sarah, I also did not have any initial plans to become an officer. I actually have four younger people that I had in mind to become an officer, but when I talk to them, I guess it would be better if I would run for at least for this particular period of time. And my expectations for the coming 2 years, since we are the first batch who have revived this movement, I expect that we will be setting the groundwork for the future generations, just like what Sarah has mentioned, that we're going to build the foundations and hopefully we'll build a structure so that the future generations will also have something that they can carry forward. Just like what Rafael mentioned, he doesn't have a torch to pass right now, what he mentioned earlier, but hopefully we will have a torch that we will pass on to the next batch, and then they will have another torch which will be much brighter for the next and future generations.
Okay, I guess I should be next. Thanks to all. Well, same as Chris and Sarah have shared, it was like a natural flow of things because we were working online together for quite a long time in the revival and the Constitution and other things. So really it was a very beautiful natural process. And when all these things of the elections came up, my first thought was, oh no, I won't volunteer to be a candidate. But there was something that changed in my mind very special, and was Narden meeting. I was able to be there in Narden with all these wonderful souls, soulmates, and feeling that connection, that belonging, that sense of family gave me that, how do you say, like that last motivation that I needed to volunteer to be a candidate. And also I had a dream related to that. So I guess that was the final touch. And I'm very happy to have been given this opportunity to work with all of you and for the youth movement of the Theosophical Society, because I guess it's very important to have a group of young people dedicated to this, having our own space. Like for instance, in Colombia, where I'm come from, I'm the youngest member and the only member that is, less than 55 years old. I would say the next younger person is 55 years old. So I really feel the need for us to share this wonderful jewel that is the Theosophy. And I think that also this is an opportunity for us to keep tuned with the new ways and channels to spread the Theosophy. The divine wisdom never changes. The essence never changes, but the shapes need to be updated with the times. And I guess young people can bring that updated to this Theosophy to be revitalized, etc. So that can be a little bit with the expectations. Like, okay, of course, we shouldn't have any expectation. If we look it from the spiritual point of view and just fulfill the duty and do whatever we have to do with our best will and with all our love and dedication. But of course, I guess one of the things I expect is that we can keep tuned, have open eyes, ears, and hearts to really see the needs of the moment for our group and for the Theosophical Society. And also the expectation or the willing to work not only along with this wonderful group of 7 people, but all the people who was a candidate, because as Sarah said, they were wonderful profiles and all their proposals were so valuable that it will be very nice that everyone can work together, and with everyone that is present here, and that is a member of the federation. And yeah, I guess this federation can serve as a meeting hub for all the young Theosophies. We can constitute a training ground for young people, like Christopher was saying. Hearing to young people talking also attracts other young people. We need to work in the propagation of this ancient wisdom in a way that is accessible and relevant to our times. And of course, the inner work has to be there always in order to be in our life channels of this divine wisdom. So thanks to all, I'm very happy to be here. I agree with Rafael, we should invent the virtual hug because I don't want to have you all in my arms, giving a big, big hug to all of you. Now I
Okay.
guess there's only Brandon remaining, yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brandon. So I really agree with everyone. I feel so happy listening to all of you. Nadan was really a magical experience for me as well. And so it was one of the main reasons why I would even consider to join as an officer. So I applied to become an officer in the Federation because I see its potential to spearhead transformation in the TS and society at large. So to be frank, I also see this as a duty because, just like Chris, I wanted other people to represent Singapore instead. But anyway, here I am, and I'm really excited to be part of this movement. And so for the next 2 years, I envision closer cooperation and sharing between sections in the TS, as well as a growing presence of the Theosophical movement in the virtual world, which is almost more real than the real world now. So I do see the Federation presenting Theosophy in new ways that make us viscerally relevant to young Theosophists. And only then can we begin to meaningfully engage with young people at large and discover our role in this troubled world. And I believe we can do that if we are truly united with one aim. Thank you, everyone.
That was well said, Brandon. Thank you. Sarah, I think that you wanted to mention the voting that we'll do for the representatives soon.
Yes. So you may know that, well, since now the governing body, which is the Board of the Officers, have been appointed, the next immediate step, according to the Constitution, is to appoint the Council of Representatives. So, which is the second body of the Federation, and it is an important role because it is the two-way link between the board and the general members of all countries and sections. So according to the Constitution, a representative should be appointed for every term by the young members from the respective national sections or regional associations or lodges attached to ADIAR, who shall be encouraged to decide amongst themselves. This is quoted from the Constitution. So therefore, on behalf of the board, we will soon contact members from each country to let them know about the available names with the database that we have from the election committee of all members who were validated, and so that they can choose amongst themselves a representative, one per country or per section, and then they can submit their decision to the board within hopefully a short period of time, so that the council can be constituted soon and start functioning. At the moment, I believe we have members from 27 countries, and in some of them there is at the moment only one validated member. In those cases, we will propose those members to be the representatives of their countries. And if during the process of this appointment of representatives there are any questions, you can always reach us, the Board of Officers anytime. Yes.
Thank you, Sarah.
If there are any questions now, you can also say so.
Yeah, and questions about anything, not just voting for the representatives. If there's anything that anyone would really like to see the WFYT do in the near future, let us know. And any other questions at all, anything that you want to talk about, please.
Melissa has a question in the chat.
It's, have offices been assigned to the elected officers yet. And no, they haven't yet. Next week, we'll have a meeting with the board, and I think that's when we'll assign them. But we'll definitely keep you all posted. Where can one access the WFYT Constitution? I think we have it on Google Drive. I'll try to pull it up. My internet is terrible here, so I might not be able to get to it.
I take note that maybe I will include that in the email that I will send everyone, so that it is accessible for everyone.
Just posted the link if someone wants to have it now.
Sviatoslav asks, is there a website or a web page of our youth federation? Not yet. I suppose these are some of the projects that we have to think about, and soon in the coming weeks, once we start meeting.
Sarah Paul asks that you'll share the Discord link when you send that email out.
Okay.
And Gerald asks, what are the committee's immediate plans in the next 1 to 2 months? So next week we have that meeting with the board, and we'll try to essentially plan exactly that out. We have the voting that we'll do. I mentioned earlier that I'm hoping we'll have a weekly discussion group. It may not end up being weekly. That's kind of a lot, but that's something else. And if anyone else wants to mention anything else that we have planned, please do.
Yes, we thought this would be a good time to hear out if there are any ideas or any expectations from members, young members that would like to see us organizing, or to have like some kind of feedback. If you would like to share some of if you have thought about it.
And I suppose people are also welcome to talk in the microphone, right? Because people are only using the chat. I think people are quite shy. But I think it would be very good if we can organize this Council of Representatives before the convention. And then hopefully some of you will be able to be in Adyar and be able to sort of present the federation to the TS as a whole, and perhaps engage in the process of continuing to find the young people, because we have a the database of young people now, but I suppose this is a process that will have to occur, kind of ongoing process, isn't? And I think it can be a very source of enthusiasm for the TS to see kind of the World Federation rising up again. I don't know whether you already have talked about this, but I suppose you have this in mind.
No, actually, yes, I think this is something we have in mind, that we want to really have fluent communication with general secretaries and try to reach to more young members who are out there and who may not be aware still of the federation. And yes, some of us are attending the international convention as well as the youth convention that will take place in Adyar. And yes, we still have to organize that, but we plan to make some public announcement of the federation so that it is more visible and throughout all the Theosophical Society community.
Brandon mentions that we can have a social media account, and that's something that Elena's been working on a lot lately. I don't know if you want to say anything about it.
Yes, we are creating the pages, but there is not much content yet because of course, we need to talk each other a little bit before, but it's something we are working on for sure, as the website also and YouTube page and anything. Any tool we can use to improve the federation, we will use it, of course.
I think there is an Instagram page as well, isn't? And the Facebook,
yeah, there is
like,
an Instagram page as Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. We already created the pages and published only one. Yes, I can share.
Perhaps you could share all of them in the youth forum so people could follow. I didn't know
Yes,
about the
I'll
TikTok.
share it in the youth forum. That's easiest because I can share it from the phone.
And there's a YouTube account as well, so I believe, because I saw it. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Leo. I'm from Australia, Sydney. I just want to say thank you for all of you for being here today. And I would like to say to Marike that I really like your idea, because actually I was talking to a few members here in Sydney last week regarding a project for a children book in which we can integrate theosophical teachings in there. So that's why when you talk about, social activities and charity and stuff for children, I really like it. So hopefully that we can cooperate sometimes in the future to do that project.
That would be really wonderful. Absolutely.
Thank you, Marika. Are you coming to India at the end of this year?
I was planning, but not. So I hopefully next year.
Okay.
But I can leave you my contacts or something.
Well, if we have a group, then why don't we just contact in a group? And then the second thing I would like to ask the committee, like the board, as we all know that theosophy is all about freedom, and there is not a religion, it's just the wisdom, it's just the divine truth. So how can we expand, or how can we grow theosophy to young members, but not to preach theosophy? Because if you are preaching, it's actually making people think that we are a cult or a religion. So there's a fine line there. So I just want to know how you guys are going to do it. I'm really curious about that.
Maybe I can take on this question. Theosophy usually presents us with ideas, and sometimes in the books they call it postulates instead of like a theory or a dogma. In fact, Madame Blavatsky says that in Theosophy we don't have any dogmas. The only common belief among all Theosophists is that there is one life behind all forms. But for the other teachings, we have freedom to accept or reject anything depending on our beliefs, depending on our logic, depending on our experience, and depending, of course, on our intuition, whether the teaching resonates with us or not, and if it helps us to become a better person. So one way that we can do this is the way we present the teachings to the public. If we can present it that we're just showing you ideas, and these ideas, you don't have to take them in, but these ideas are worth exploring, and we can show them facts and figures, and we can leave it up to them how they want to further explore or build upon the ideas that are there. So that way we can tell them that this is not a religion. You don't have to believe anything, But here is an interesting fact. Here's an interesting idea. Here's an interesting teaching. And then we leave it to them to decide whether or not it resonates with them, if it makes logical sense to them, and if it helps them become better people in their lives as people.
So how did you know about Theosophy?
Me personally.
Yeah.
So I was actually studying in a Catholic university in the Philippines, and then at that time I was interested into the paranormal, so I joined a group there. But they told me that the way I was thinking, the way I was speaking, I was kind of, they were thinking that I was a theosophist, that I would fit better within the Theosophical Society, because I'm not really interested into the practices. I was more interested into the philosophy of things. So when I joined the Theosophical Society, as I've mentioned earlier, most of the time they were older. They were a bit older than me at that time. And at that time, the TS had the reputation of being like a debating society, of a philosophical society that's really very impractical. So when I joined the TS, when I first attended the lectures, I read a lot about it, and then I also attended a lot of the seminars, teachings, and then eventually I found that it wasn't true, that it was a false perception, that Theosophy is actually about a spiritual quest, that we're looking for truth, and we may not agree necessarily on what these are, but we have a shared commonality, that we are all looking for truth. And I guess that's one way that we can also promote Theosophy in a non-dogmatic way, that we are all seekers, we're all trying to figure it out, but we don't necessarily have to agree how these things figure out themselves, or the nitty-gritty details, but we can all agree that we, inside of us, we have that search, we have that yearning to know more, to figure out our place within the greater whole.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
really nice. Thank you for that. So it's
I
very
would like
interesting.
to add. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Leo.
Yeah, really quick. Yeah, because I was just curious about, why you guys came to Theosophy, because what Christopher had just said, it's just exactly the same for me. So I came to Theosophy through my personal interest. So is it helpful if we can approach young people through their personal interest, and underneath the personal interest, they will come to Theosophy naturally, instead of, presenting ideas and stuff like that? That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, Leo, actually, I was going to say something in tune with what you just said. Okay, one of the first ways that we can interest a person in anything is by living that thing, and just by example, that I think is a very powerful, I won't say weapon because it's not a very nice word to be used here, but let's say any other comes to my mind now. But also, as you mentioned, I guess Theosophy is such a rich thing that it can be applied to many aspects in life. So I think, like, not necessarily we have to mention the word Theosophy, but we can address young people, not only according to their interests, but also according to how this knowledge can help them, or can help us to overcome the daily challenges in life. So by lectures or events or seminars or whatever you want to call it, camps on daily life, and I don't know, effective problem solving, in which you can, through that, spread and apply the Theosophy in daily life, stress management through the ideas of Theosophy. Like we have many of you may know Vicente Hauchin from the Philippines, who has that seminar of self-transformation. And you don't need to even mention any word of Theosophy, just to help people through those practical issues. That is one thing. And I guess all of us have had a time in our lives that we have had challenges, and all these tools can be very helpful for a person that is in a kind of search. And also, also in tune with America's comment and your comment through education. I guess if we can, since the childhood, put the seed of all this teaching in a natural way, the kids are completely receptive to all of that. They don't have any kind of limit. And in a very natural way, they receive all this. So I think it's very important that as young Theosophists, that we are like a kind of link between the childhood and the adulthood, can work with the children, whether in the schools, whether creating spaces within the Theosophical Society. There is, I don't know if some of you may have listened about the Round Table, which is a very beautiful space inspiring all these are key actors, activities, and we never mention any word about theosophy, but since the childhood we create a conscious of the unity of life, the fraternity of service, and all these attitudes toward lives that really are a theosophical attitude. So that just to complement what you were saying and what Christopher was also saying.
Yes.
And I hope I can do that.
Yes. I'd also like to add on what Catalina said, because in the Philippines, we've also been invited to other groups, for example, the Pranic Healing Group. So in other sections, we can also incorporate that, but like you've mentioned, we can introduce the concepts of theosophy, not necessarily the word theosophy or not necessarily the terms that we use, but the concepts and principles. And yes, we can use their own interests to lead them to the ageless wisdom, not necessarily to any specific dogma or to any specific teaching.
I agree with you. Thank you.
There is a nice comment from Kiran in the chat. Says that I suppose the emphasis should be on training young theosophists on how to inquire and meditate before they believe, accept anything. And Rafael likes Kiran comment because it encourages critical thinking. So every person can think from themselves and get to their conclusion. Yes, actually that is one of the, I guess, the things of Theosophical Society with the free thought, that we are invited to think and see everything from a critical perspective, always questioning and only accepting what we really can maybe prove and implement in our lives. That will be a key point, implement in our lives before trying to implement in other lives. And I don't know, nice comments. Thanks.
Just a brief comment about that. I think at least in Brazil, there are, let's say, other theosophical societies that are not ADR, and they have more structured way of learning for people who are arriving, and they can be quite popular because of that. And I think TS ADR is great because people needs autonomy to be a searcher really, and try to investigate what's meaningful, what's relevant, but at the same time, some people really struggle with this kind of lack of structure. So perhaps it could be even a topic to be addressed at some point on how we can somehow find a middle point in which we want to encourage people to think for themselves and be able to search and understand what is their needs at that point, and be a searcher really, but then at the same time provide some sort of structure to people who are not in that level of autonomy yet. So that perhaps could be something to make it easier to people who are getting to the TS for the first time, because I think it can be a bit overwhelming, at least to me, it was a bit strange, but at the same time, I loved the independence and autonomy, but then it is a bit strange to navigate in these waters when you just arrive.
Can I make a comment? I believe that many traditions actually do have the essence or wisdom within them, and these are just various forms. So I think it's also important to maintain and to allow for a room to present the traditional religious perspectives alongside the theosophical perspective, and to not put any emphasis on any of them, but to just let them stand side by side, and that would also help people see the commonality between all the different religions and philosophical perspectives, but also the theosophical perspective and how that synthesizes a lot of what these other traditions are saying.
I, I think Annie Besant mentioned that theosophy is like the shoreless ocean of infinite truth, and some people would like to dive right into it, but there are people who would like to stay safe on the shore. So I think it's also important that we also assess the readiness of the people. So some people may need a structure, especially if they're just beginning. And then some people may want to have a deep dive into the deep spiritual truths. So theosophy itself is infinite, so we really can't pin it down to a specific set of teachings. It's a teaching about life, and there's really no limitations to it. But maybe we can also like assess just how far or what are the specific learning needs of the people. If they are in their beginning stages and they just want to stay on the shore, at least for the meantime, maybe we can like create something to help them. And if they want to deep in deeper, maybe we can work on something or work with the others to help address that specific learning needs as well.
I have, if someone, I mean, the whole federation was thought in a way that, you know, to encourage projects to happen and to be, you know, to be led by the circles and stuff. So it's all about projects, isn't? So if someone here has a nice project of something that they would like to do, or let's say to create a short video about a topic or whatever, when do you think it would be the best moment to reach the officers with the idea? Because perhaps at the moment, you know, you're still kind of finding out who will be in each role and stuff. So should they send to you as soon as possible, or perhaps do you think after the representatives are chosen would be a better moment to begin to really think on other projects? Would you say anything to someone who may have a project in mind? What should they do?
Anyone else, please speak up if you have a different opinion, but I would say as soon as possible. It's not something we need to wait on. And we'll add it to a list, and each one of those projects we'll try and get done.
I was thinking that after our first meeting next week, maybe we can set up like an email address where people can send in their ideas and then where we can contact them. But maybe we can finalize next week. But I agree with Seth, as early as possible so that we can work on the projects maybe after our first meeting.
Is there necessarily a plan for like regular meetings like this I I don't know. Yeah, like yeah, just to discuss things.
And again, anyone correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we have a plan yet, but I hope that we will. I think that you're right. It's a good idea to keep these kind of discussions open.
I have the impression that in the Constitution, it kind of suggests that there's a minimum of online meetings, both of the officers and meetings including the representatives and open meetings that include everyone. But then, of course, it's just kind of a minimum, and I suppose they can organize more.
Based on our board groups discussions, we want to have as much as possible online meetings, but we're still on the planning stage, so we'll probably get back to you regarding the online meetings after our first meeting.
Thank you.
But we want to.
I think maybe the meetings may include two parts, like the teaching parts where we study together, and the administrative or business part where we discuss our current projects. Just an idea.
We'll take note of that. Thank you for your suggestion.
Are there plans to continue the monthly talks or whatever increment of time? I think that would be nice to keep doing that.
Well, yes, we do, but we still need to finalize our plans for next week. So we'll also take note of that, but we'll get back to you after our first initial meeting.
Will we utilize the metaverse?
I hope so. I don't know.
The metaverse is just for the hugs.
The WhatsApp group is another good question that Brandon asked. We were thinking about maybe rebranding the youth forum that we have now for the WFYT and keeping it as kind of the same relatively low traffic updates on things that are going on. And I was thinking if other people agree, maybe we could have another group as well, where it's more of us, more of a daily interaction with each other, if there's interest in that. But again, it's all in the planning stage for right now.
I was also thinking of service activities. Based on my experience, young people tend to enjoy service activities as well. But again, we're still on the planning stages. So we're still on the planning stage. So we'll probably get back to you with a more concrete plan after our first meeting.
Has it been done, or is there anything wrong with doing like the TOS healing ritual online together? So that would be a nice way to serve from all different places together.
Our group actually conducts the TOS healing rituals on a monthly basis. So I don't think it will be any difficult for us to do it as a group, especially for the young people. We can take note of that as one of the suggestions. TOS healing ritual.
And I mean, hearing all the proposals and all the question, I guess there will be activities that will be able to be held like online as a big group, as a World Federation group, but also, I guess in each country, slowly, the idea is that this energy spreads in each country. So every judge group begins to create their own activities according to the necessities and the availabilities of each region. So, but hopefully also this World Federation will serve like as a spreading center of activity, energy, etc. But of course, I guess it has to be done in a local level also. That's the better way to keep
I think that's
working
also
and everything.
I think that's also a good point that Catalina raised because, for example, the TOS healing ritual, I think also Singapore also has that activity. I think these can be done on a more local lodge level or on a more local section level. But maybe what the World Federation of Young Theosophists can do is like helping to set up the structure so that we can help young people set up their own groups in their own individual countries. I don't know, we haven't had our meeting yet, but I was thinking along that lines that instead of having one group for where the entire young theosophists all over the world will come together for the healing ritual, we can probably do that once in a year, but maybe we can also focus more on helping people like develop their own healing groups in their own area or in their own lodges.
It's always tricky to know when it's time to end the meeting. But anyway, just a few one comment. Last year, I made some kind of survey among young theosophists to check on whether they were available to give talks or to offer other kinds of skills to projects and stuff like that that we could do together. So I'll share this table with information of people who know how to video editing or social media or all sorts of translation or all sorts of skills. So I don't think, I mean, perhaps you don't necessarily have to use this table, but perhaps use this as a basis and perhaps do a new survey or something like this, because I think the nicest thing to happen is that, this group of 7 people really managed to encourage more and more people to get involved somehow. So I just remembered that I have this sort of small piece of information that can be a good starting point to that kind of initiative. And then if someone didn't fill that specific form, then perhaps you can even send an email to the officers and say, look, I didn't fill the form, but I can do that, we can do this, and I'd like to help somehow. Anyway.
Thanks for that, Rafael.
Right, Rafael, thank you.
Thank you. That would be helpful for us.
Will that be shared through the youth forum?
No, I think I sent to the email of the federation because that's information about lots of people, and I don't think it should be openly shared. Because
sorry, yeah, I was talking about the actual survey to fill out.
Oh, I mean, we can. I think maybe they can discuss whether they want to keep this form or maybe they want to make a new form. So
Okay.
maybe they will. I don't know what they find better. Because perhaps they want to check this and make changes and make a new one. I don't know. Just
very good.
stories of self-transformation. It's a good idea.
Yes, and Miriam says that she loves the talks that were given to Northern and that the stories and from self-transformation in different cultures. And she would love to see that more in the future. We will get note that. And Tobia would say that he would like to propose as a service and both innovation project, something like the experimentation we are doing in Italy by reading the theosophical articles for people who cannot read easily in a sort of podcast channel. Oh, okay, we have also something like that in Estonia where we, but not in a theosophical sense, that we can read the books or articles and, people who can't see can hear them later. So this is actually a good idea. Thank you.
Regarding the stories of self-transformation, I was thinking it would be a good idea also to compile them, right? Like in a book or something. But we can discuss that when we have our meeting. But I think that would be a great idea, right? If we can also compile the different stories of self-transformation.
I don't know if we don't have any more questions. Could we have something from the end, like something, I don't know, peace mantra or 1 minute meditation in silent or something?
We
Do you
can
have
do it
something?
open live, the universal prayer, to end the
Yes.
meeting.
Yes.
Seth
Can you
has
please do it?
left. So
Yes, that is like.
would we like to end the meeting already? Okay, I deeply appreciate all the various perspectives and opinions and ideas. I think it's wonderful forum to generate a wealth of ideas. But with that, I think our board of officers will have to discuss which to focus on, because if we have unlimited resources, we'll be carrying out all of them. But in this time and resource-strapped world, I think we will have to choose and discern which are the projects that we would like to work on. Okay, so all right, with that, let us end the meeting with a few moments of silence. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May all who feel themselves as one with thee know they are therefore one with every other. Peace, peace, peace. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night or good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you,
See you
everyone.
around. Keep in
Thank
touch.
you, everyone.
Keep in touch.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All of you.
Ending now. Bye.